Hello students, welcome to the answer writing program. Today we will be discussing last two case studies for this month. This month we are ending our GS4 module, that is ethics module, and we have completed approximately 12 case studies and multiple questions from the section A. So let's wind up this GS4 ethics module today, and we will see that how to deal with the case study again in this video. Like, students face difficulties in addressing the case study within the time limit and within the word limit. See, case study, it's approximately 20 marks and 6 case studies come up in the examination, and approximately 120 marks. Earlier it's like 125 marks also. This case study consists of. So GS4 case study approximately 120 marks, and this is more than any other subject in the GS4. Like, if you cover geography, if you cover history, if you cover any of the economy, polity, GS4 only case study consists of more marks than any other examination or than any other subject in the GS, other subjects. So what you need to do with this case study, you just go through thoroughly approximately like from 2013 to 2023 all the case studies from the UPSC CSE PYQ only. Just grab the theme, what exactly the UPSC asks the question on, get the vocabulary, what UPSC asks and tells, different values, different principle, different code of ethics, code of conduct, what are the various values given in the question. So use that vocabulary in your GS4, this case study questions, and this you can write in approximately 15 to 16 minutes. So like 1 hour 40 minutes to 1 hour 45 minutes you can consider for writing these case studies in your examination. What is the main issue that students say? That approximately in all the case study they faces the same language, the same keywords, same vocabulary. So how to deal with this? So you need to write down some synopsis at your own place, like while sitting at your home and while studying for the case studies. What you have to do, you need to read the case study, you need to make the short notes of what vocabulary used in what particular case study. Like, if the question is about the ethical conduct, so some specific words are there, some specific keywords, some specific values are there. Just write it down and try to mug up also sometimes. Then with time, whenever you will like completing with 40-30 case studies, you do not have need to mug up again, because now it's in your mind that how to write what values, what vocabulary, what keyword in what type of questions. So go through PYQs, write down the case studies, get the concept, get it clarified, and then attempt your write in the next mock test. And the second thing is, you do not have need to write the full arguments in your case studies, like in merits, demerits. Just write the value system or the values or the keywords. Like, if you are writing corrupt practices, then don't write the full sentences to elaborate on the corrupt practices. Like, if you are writing against professional ethics, so just leave it there, because the examiner will understand what you are trying to write it here. Don't write it in the full sentences, because you have limited time, limited word limit. So stick to that, and you can quote as many examples as you can, and that too don't elaborate in too much. If you'll write some keyword and some context in like one line also, that would be suffice for your answer. You can write multiple examples in your case studies as well while writing the argument in the recourse or the courses of action. What would you like to take? If you are writing some example, like you are writing some value system and then you are writing Gandhian talisman, then just write it in with the what context you are writing, that how to take the decision in the difficult situation. Don't try to elaborate on that particular example as well. Okay, so these are some snippets for the case study, how to deal with the case study in your examination. Now let's start with the very first question. And also one important thing, that students read the case study, then attempt the question, then come back to case study, reread the question, what the question is saying. And sometimes students also assume that, okay, this might have written in the case study. So avoid all these things. Do read the case study only once and try to underline over there only at that particular time. So let's read together. The road and the highway minister is appointed newly in the state. He happens to be the close relative of a big contractor who has been awarded several road projects in the state in the past. To gain favoritism and kickback, the minister has awarded a contract for the new highway project to the same contractor without any competitive bidding process, violating all the norms of probity and governance. So, underline this probity and governance, that he has bypassed these values, first thing. Then to gain favoritism and competitive bidding process, it means these values will be writing favoritism and avoiding or bypassing the competitive bidding process, it means corrupt practices. Or these are some like unethical practices. The contractor, with the help of minister, is using inferior quality material and cutting corners to keep costs down and maximize profits. This results in a poorly road built with the weak bridges and substandard construction work. The road is not only danger to the commuters, okay. Now, this is also the issue that this low quality road will be a danger to commuters and also affecting the environment. So, environmental aspect is also there in this case study. Debris with the dust pollution. The local communities are also affected due to the corrupt practices of minister and the contractor. Apart from environmental pollution, they are also facing the brunt of increased traffic and noise pollution on the highway. The local businesses have been affected by the local roads, as the local roads are blocked due to the construction of the highway, and the traffic congestion is also affecting their daily operations. So these are some issues faced by the commuters, local communities, and also local businesses. So these are some stakeholders as well. However, a bureaucrat from the Ministry of Roads and Highways have been opposing the project due to corrupt practices and the nexus between the minister and the contractor. However, he has been pressurized by the minister and the contractor to neglect the quality of the project. He has also been threatened to the transfer of to the punishment posting. So this is the issue or the ethical issue with respect to the bureaucrat, that he is willing to unveil the corrupt practices, but he is being threatened by the contractor and the minister so as to remain silent or comply with the silence. So what this case study is all about, there is a road and the highway minister. There is some nepotism or the favoritism with the contractor. Contractor has the background of making the ill quality or the bad quality roads in the past as well, and this newly contract of building the highway impacts environment, local commuters, local communities over there, and the local businesses. So this is the case study all about. Now we have the 3 questions to address. The first one is identify the stakeholders involved in the case study with, as we have written some of this here, we know this one and we know the contractor, the big contractor. Then what are the ethical implications of the minister's decision to award the project without any competitive bidding process? And what are the options available to the bureaucrat, and what option should he choose and why? Means we have to write down the multiple options he can choose from with the merits and demerits, and that finally what would be the course of action and why. Means we have to write the rationale, or how and why means we need to give the reasons. Okay. So let's start with the answer. So in introduction, you can write the description or the overview of the case study, what this case study is all about. This case study is about the nexus between the contractor and the road and highway minister. It's about the corrupt practices also, as the minister is giving the contract or awarding the contract by bypassing the bidding process. So it shows some corruption and nepotism in the governmental aspect. Then it shows that lack of probity and the transparency issues are there. Then poor quality work that hampers the local commuters, local communities and the local businesses, and also impacting the environment over there. Then in the last line you can write about the challenges or the ethical issues which the bureaucrat has to face, because if he'll report, he has to face some threats from the minister as well as the contractor, or maybe he will lose his job. So these are some ethical issues also. So you can write just an overview or the brief in the introduction. Then next, the first question is about the stakeholders involved. So the very first stakeholder is the road and highway minister, which is bypassing the bidding process for the contractor and which is doing the corrupt practices over there in awarding the contract. Next is contractor, minister's relative. So he is like favoritism, he is the awardee of the favoritism, or he is the one who is doing all the corrupt practices by building the low quality infrastructure over there. Then next is bureaucrat from the ministry, who is facing the ethical issues over there because he has to unveil this exposure or this corrupt practices. Then commuters, who are the sufferers who will be more affected by this highway building or due to this bad quality road project or about the environmental issues over there. Then local communities and local businesses over there. Then comes the ethical implications of the minister's decision. What this minister's decision that by bypassing the bidding process, by enhancing or by promoting the favoritism or the nepotism in the governance aspect. So what are the ethical implications? The very first implication would be fairness and equity. Means it will deny the fairness. It hampers the fair and the right competition between the different contractors. If this minister would not have given directly the contract to this contractor, there must be multiple contractors who have come up, do the bidding process, and the best would win this bidding process. So by bypassing doing all these things, it means it is hampering the fairness and the equity values. Next is transparency and accountability. Bypassing this bidding process involving doing the corrupt practices, it means it is hampering the transparency and accountability. Next is conflict of interest. As the contractor is the close relative of the minister, it means there is a conflict of interest in awarding this contract. Next is misuse of the public fund. How misuse of the public fund? Because if the bidding process would have been there, it means that multiple contractors would be there, it would be the strong competition, and the low bidding, the one who has awarding the low bidding, that would win. So bypassing all these things, it means the minister might be paying high money or the huge money to this contractor. Next is compromised quality and safety, because they have the nexus, they know that they are using the low quality stuff over there in building that infrastructural project, road and highway. So they are compromised the quality and safety of the people over there. Next is environmental impact. Due to the spread of debris and dust, it is creating the air pollution, environmental impact over there. Next is, what are the options available for the bureaucrat? The very first thing is that bureaucrat can report to the authorities like anti-corruption body, or he can report to the ombudsman also. So what would be the benefit in that? What would be the merit of that particular option is that he can uphold the integrity and the transparency in the governance process, and the personal integrity also, that he is not becoming the part of that nexus or becoming the part of that corrupt practice. Then he is exposing the corruption for the potential investigation, because if he is reporting to some anti-corruption body, means he will provide some evidence also, and based on that evidence, that anti-corruption body will take the decisions on that, and maybe during the investigation it finds them guilty and do some penalty for that. Then promotes ethical conduct in the governmental contracts. So that bureaucrat is leading by example, irrespective of the threats, irrespective of the strong nexus between the minister and the contractor. He is promoting the ethical conduct by reporting it to the authorities, that so that it would be the precedent for the next time also, so that in the future also others will take it as a example that we need to expose this corrupt practices, not stay silent. Then what would be the demerit in that? Maybe the backlash and the threats would happen. Then lack of institutional support. Maybe the authorities would not support him, or maybe the internal colleagues would not support this activity or this action of the bureaucrat. Legal proceedings can be time consuming, and during that time again the backlash and the threats can happen, and we do not know that this immediate reporting to the authorities would result into some fruitful benefits or not. Next comes the second option, seeking support from colleagues or the whistleblower network. So he can ask for the support or seek support from the internal colleagues or some whistleblower network. So what would benefit for that merits? He would gain the emotional support and solidarity that he is doing the right action. He is willing to expose this corrupt practices, so he will get the emotional support for that. Next is wider attention to address this corrupt practices. Then next is it strengthen the collective voice against corruption. Maybe all the colleagues or some of the colleagues would help this bureaucrat and will tell the right course of action, that how to proceed with this. Then next is demerits. Some individuals may be hesitant to support this bureaucrat. Varying level of support from the colleagues, maybe some would not support. Then dependence on the external network may introduce risk. Again, telling this crucial aspect of the corrupt practices going on between the minister and the contractor. If telling to the some external network or some whistleblower network, it means again asking for the risks, for the potential risks. Next is public disclosure through resignation. So the next option is he would resign and then come up in the media or some other channel and will report this corrupt practice. So what would be the merits and demerits for that? Exposes corruption to the public, maintains a personal integrity, that yes, I stand by with my whatever my conscience will allow me, and sends a strong message about the commitments to the transparency and accountability towards the institution. Demerits is the personal and the financial consequences. Maybe he would not have another job immediately. He has to see some financial or the personal repercussions for that. Then legal risks such as defamation suit. Might be minister or the contractor files a defamation suit. He has to face some legal risks for that. Next is lack of immediate impact without additional actions. So he is coming up in the media or some other public channel. Might be there is no action from some anti-corruption body side or some ombudsman or some media channel or some whatever the legal authorities would be. Might be they will not take actions. Then finally, what would he can do? He can stay silent and comply with whatever the minister and the contractor is saying. So what are the merits and demerits with that? He will maintain the immediate safety, the job safety, job security, family safety, and also the personal safety, and avoids the personal confrontation from the minister as well as the contractor. Then what are the demerits for that? He compromises the professional ethics. Professional ethics, what this professional ethics say? That he has to unveil or expose this corrupt practices. He should be transparent and accountable towards the institution. So he is compromising on that. And the long-term consequence would be, it could be the damage to the bureaucrat's professional reputation. Maybe in future, it would be exposed that this bureaucrat was also involved, and if he wasn't involved, why he didn't report it to the authorities. So there are some long-term consequences also. And also, if he stays silent and comply with whatever the minister and contractor is saying, it is undermining the public interest. And also the public trust. Because the public interest is in what? Like good quality road and highways, and not the noise pollution, not the environmental pollution over there due to the bad quality or due to the nexus between or the corrupt practices between the contractor and the minister. So this complying with the silence or complying with whatever the minister is saying, this undermines the public interest and also the public trust. It would harm the environment and poses risk to the local communities. Means he is avoiding the safety of the people also by opting for this option. So these are some options available in front of that bureaucrat. How we have to choose the options? Let's wind it up again. Like, there are some options available always when the question is open-ended. Means there are some confusions or like that. So we have to take some extreme steps, like two options would be there and one option could be in between, or two option can be between. Like in this case, directly resigns from the post and tells to the media, the very extreme step. And the second step, extreme step, is comply the silence, whatever the minister is saying, okay with that. So next in between is taking help from the whistleblower, taking help from the legal advice from the colleagues or from some seniors. So this would be some balancing act, not immediate impact, but they are doing some legal actions also, and they are balancing between these two extremes. So this is how you can write the options. Next is recommended course of action. It means what the option he should choose and why. So what he can do is, he can gather the evidences and reporting to the anti-corruption agencies or ombudsman. So how he would do that and why he would do that? Because it provides a concrete proof of the corrupt practices of the minister and the contractor. It upholds the transparency and probity. It protects the public interest and safety. Whatever we have done in the merits or demerits of all the option, we can write it here as well. It deters the future misconduct and sets an example that corrupt practices has to be exposed. It shouldn't be covered or secreted or sealed by bureaucrats or some minister. It shouldn't be like that. So these are some rationale, and obviously when he will report to the anti-corruption bodies or authorities, the legal and the professional investigation would happen, and the accused or the convict would be penalized for that. Then in conclusion, what you can write? You can write the summary, whatever we have learned from this case study, or you can write the importance or the role of a ethical bureaucrat, or the bureaucrat with the high moral grounds or the high ethical standards. So by upholding the ethical conduct, like by exposing it or by reporting to the anti-corruption bodies, he has upheld the ethical conduct. It helps in maintaining the transparent governance, prioritizing also the personal integrity, and by prioritizing the personal integrity, it helps in contributing to the culture, work culture of transparency, accountability in the professional institutions as well. So this was the case study. Let's see the model answer. Starting by the briefing of the case study, stakeholders, minister's decision and what are the ethical implications in that, then what are the options available with the bureaucrat, multiple options, then finally what bureaucrat would do, and finally the conclusion. Next, see the second question. A woman was sexually harassed by the top level senior executive in a large IT company. Means there is a case of sexual harassment. She decided to sue the company in response, and during settlement discussions, the company offered her an extremely large monetary settlement. It means they are compromising the vulnerabilities of women. The agreement included a condition that the women had to confirm that the executive had done nothing wrong. Means the agreement has the condition that if the women would confirm or if the women would sign the settlement, it means she has to confirm that executive had done nothing wrong and prohibited her from discussing anything about the incident in public. However, before the date of signing the settlement agreement, the women's lawyer heard that the executive had done this before as well, and that the settlement amount was high because the company probably had a legal obligation to dismiss the executive. It means if some colleague is accused of or be convicted of the sexual harassment, he has to dismiss the executive, but wanted to keep him for the money making capabilities. But because that executive is crucial for the money making for that particular institution, they are keeping him. Also, the woman is in need of money as she is the only bread earner in her family, and the condition of the family is very poor, and by signing the agreement, she can save her job as well, as she has been threatened by the company officials to lose her job. So the company has threatened this. So the case study is about, there is an executive, there is a woman, that executive has harassed or sexually harassed that particular woman. Now the company knows about this incident and they try to cover up this incident by giving the huge or the large settlement money, and they are asking the women to sign some agreement in which they have written that if the women conforms with this settlement, she has to agrees on that executive has done nothing wrong, and also she cannot discuss this matter in public, and also she cannot report to the legal authorities in the future as well. So this is some issue, and the woman is the sole bread earner for her family. She is like the family is very poor, so she has to take care of the family also. If she'll lose her job, financial consequences would be there, so she is in the dilemma like what to do. So who are the stakeholders? What are the ethical issues posed in the case study? What options does a woman have? And what should she do and why? So let's start with the introduction. In introduction, you can write again as the description what we have discussed in the previous case study as well, that it highlights the workplace issue, the security of the women also, and you can quote some example that IMF has said that this much women's participation is required for increasing this much GDP of the country, but if the workplace is not secure, so this hampers the GDP of the country also. So you can write some context as well, and for that government has come up with this law, POSH Act, for the security and the safety of the women at workplace, or for protect or prevent from the sexual harassment at the workplace. And you can also write that dilemma in the question or the ethical issue in the question, that the company, the institution is silencing the women by giving her the huge settlement money. So this shows the misuse of the power to silence the victims. Next comes the body or the stakeholders. What you have to write? The women employee, who is the victim of the sexual harassment, executive employee, who has done the harassment, then the company, who has the onus to secure or to make safe all the employees over there so as to make the workplace a secure and the safe place. And also the company is giving the lump sum amount or the huge settlement account to stay that woman, to make that woman silent. Then women's lawyer, then family of the woman who are poor or who are dependent on the financial condition of that particular woman. Then ethical issues in the case study. What are the ethical issues? The very first thing, sexual harassment, unethical conduct or unethical behavior has happened. Then lack of corporate governance. Very first thing is inadequate preventive measures. That company has the responsibility or the onus to make that place safe and secure for women and for all the employees, but they missed on that. There were the inadequate preventive measures, that this incident should not have happened. Then protecting the perpetrators by giving the large settlement amount to the victim, they are protecting the abuser or they are protecting the perpetrator. Then non-disclosure agreement, whatever they are asking, that they cannot, that the women cannot discuss this incident in public and that she cannot complain to the authorities later on in her life as well. So by giving this non-disclosure agreement, they are suppressing the freedom of speech, freedom of voice to that woman. Then failure to investigate the previous incident. They are paying the huge amount to the women. It means they know about the previous incidents also like this that has happened in the past, and they are covering up because of the high making money capacity of that executive. Then exploitation of the women's vulnerabilities, because they know that women is the sole earner of the family. She is from the poor family, so they are seeking or they are doing the exploitation of her vulnerabilities. So they are giving the threats for her losing of the job security as well. Means the company or that institution is profit motivated over the ethical values of that institution. Then next ethical issue is threats to the women's safety at the workplace, and also if she will report to the authorities, maybe again she gets threats from the executive as well as the company. Then inadequate justice has happened in this. By exposing the vulnerabilities, by compromising the vulnerabilities, so there is an inadequate justice to that employee, to that women. Next is options available for the women. Again, extreme steps: accept the settlement and will not report and will not discuss about this incident, and also she has to comply that the executive has done nothing wrong. So what are the merits? Job security would be there, financial improvement and job security. What would be the demerits? The woman has compromised with the truth and the potential future misconduct can happen again in the future. It means if she is denying, not reporting to the authorities, it means this incident can again happen in the future. So she has to be ready for the potential future misconduct as well. And this is compromising the truth. Next is rejecting and pursuing the legal action. Extreme step, this is accepting and this is rejecting the settlement agreement and pursuing the legal action against the executive and the company. Merits is by doing this, she is ensuring justice for herself and for the other employees and for the future prospects also. She is maintaining the truth and the integrity. Demerits is might be this legal process would be expensive and that woman is already from the poor background, so this would have the negative repercussions on her, on the financial as well as the personal issues would be there. Then uncertain outcome, maybe by giving the last lump sum money to police or some authorities, that executive would come out of all these legal actions. So there is an uncertain outcome. Impact on the professional reputation, then harassment from the company. So these are some demerits by opting for this particular option. Next is negotiate the settlement terms. Negotiate for the settlement terms, that by that paying some money for the harm that has happened, but she is asking that she can discuss the matter in public, she can report to the authorities later in her life, maybe some negotiating the settlement terms. So what would be the merits? Financial settlement she would get for whatever harm has happened, and the public discussion ability, might be she can discuss it in public. Then demerits, maybe this negotiations is not acceptable from the company side, and also it is compromising the integrity of the women also, because the sexual harassment has happened, and if she is negotiating or renegotiating the settlement term, it means it is compromising the integrity of that woman. Next is collaborative agreement. It means she is asking other colleagues also. It means whatever the sexual harassment by that executive has happened in the past, she is asking from those victims, collect them, collect the evidences, collaborate with them, cooperate with them, and then take some legal actions against that executive. Then merits is considering all the stakeholder. It means now it is a collaborative or the cooperative. She is not alone in this legal battle. So legal and the financial considerations she can take up, or she can put up in the legal action she can take against that executive. Then demerits is might be there is a prolonged resolution, might be all the stakeholders will not agree on that, and difficulty in consensus. Maybe everybody will not agree on this, that we also want to take him to expose to the risk of the legal actions. So finally, what would be the recommended course of action, what she should do and why? First is not signing the settlement agreement, because this agreement has the provisions that she cannot discuss it in the public. She has to comply that the executive has done nothing wrong. She cannot take the legal suit against him in the future as well. So she is compromising on the integrity and the personal and the professional ethics also for the other stakeholders as well. So what she should do, she should not sign the settlement agreement, and she should discuss the matter or the issue with the other victims and take the legal action, like how the government from the free legal aid to poor, like NALSA at the national level and the SALSA. So she can take help from these free legal aid measures from the governmental side, because she is maybe she cannot afford the expensive legal suit, so she can take from the less expensive or the free measures from the NALSA or SALSA. Then what happens when she takes this action? This upholds the integrity and seek justice for all the victims as well. Then this is the ethical course of action, not comply with the silence with the executive and with the companies. Then she can speak publicly about the incident. She can discuss it with the other colleagues as well. She can tell that this executive has done wrong with this, and also she can talk about the company. That company should have some professional ethics, should have some workplace culture, work culture should be there, and the company just for the profit motives is denying everything else. Then finally conclusion, you can write some key takeaways that there should be accountability for the sexual misconduct irrespective of the position or the position of the power or the position of influence you are. There should be accountability for the sexual misconduct. And you can also write about importance of the legal obligation that the executive should be aware of before doing any misconduct in the company. So let's see the model answer. The case study highlights, and you can write about the POSH Act or the Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Prevention, Prohibition and Redressal Act 2013, stakeholders, ethical issues, then possible options available to the woman and what are the merits and the demerits associated with the each option. Then finally, what should women do, and the conclusion that anyone should be held accountable for any sexual misconduct and should be aware of the consequences of their action. So this was it for today. We have discussed 2 case study. So this was the free initiative. From tomorrow we are considering or we are starting GS1 module. So this was it for the November month. Today is the last session for the ethics and we have discussed 12 case study in this November month, and you can write questions on this portal. You can see the video on YouTube channel and you can download the PDF of this video also, this model answers. Also, Vajiram and Ravi has started means intensive test series and it comprises of 38 tests. Half length tests are there, full length tests are there. So do join this test series to be means ready holistically or comprehensively for 2024. Thank you and have a nice day and keep writing. Thank you.